Hi, I'm Amy Bosch. Welcome back to How Do I Feed This Kid Naturally? You can find all the information I'm going to talk about tonight at my website www.feedthiskid.com. Tonight we're going to be talking about coconut milk, and I'm actually enjoying a nice cup of mother's milk tea with some coconut milk in it. I feel like it really helps my milk supply. But what I want to focus on tonight is the dreaded 4-month regression. And a common theme through my podcasts and my YouTube videos is your intuition. And as mothers, you should, in my opinion, trust your intuition before anything else. So I want to talk about how I use my intuition to basically supplement my son's diet with coconut milk. And what had happened was he hit his 4-month regression, and I had forgotten all about the dreaded 4-month regression. And prior to the 4-month regression, he was sleeping 12, 13 hours a night, sometimes 14 hours. And right about 4 months, he started waking up 2 to 3 times a night. So I asked the all-knowing Google why this was happening, and after a little bit of research, I found out that at 4 months, babies developmentally have a heightened sense of awareness of their surroundings. So during the day, they would rather look around than breastfeed. If you're bottle feeding, you get away with this a little bit easier because you can give your baby a bottle while they're looking around. But if you're breastfeeding, it's not so easy. And they have a tendency to want to catch up on calories at night. And you can only produce so much milk at night, and your baby can only ingest so much milk. So what happens is they can't satiate themselves. So they wake up multiple times a night. And I also took my son to his 4-month checkup and expressed concern to my pediatrician that he wasn't getting enough food. Now, my son's pretty big. He was born 8 pounds, 5 ounces, but by the time he was 4 months, he was 16 pounds. And my intuition told me that I wasn't making enough milk and he was hungry. And the pediatrician told me to supplement with formula. And when I was at the office, I couldn't remember why I didn't want to supplement with formula. I was a little foggy. I had some brain fog from lack of sleep, but I just knew I didn't want to. And the alternatives were introducing solids, which I didn't think he was ready for, or increasing my milk supply. Now, on a side note, I think any breastfeeding mom at one point or another, unless you're grossly overproducing milk, is going to have concern and try to increase their milk supply. So there's all kinds of remedies out there. The two things that worked really well for me was mother's milk tea, and this is traditional medicine mother's milk tea for healthy lactation. Caffeine free, you drink it all day. You get really sick of it, but I think it works. And then Gaia Herbs is one of my favorite brands, and they have a lactation support blend. And it has the fenugreek, marshmallow root, fennel seed, raspberry leaf, and thistle ariel parts. So I really, really like this company. And of course, coconut milk. So back to the 4-month regression. The next day, I remembered why I was against introducing formula, and that was from a nutrition talk that I attended when I was working at a physical therapy clinic. And the talk was given by a biochemist, and I can't remember his name, but he was very enthusiastic, very passionate about his work. And he loved getting into the science, into the chemical reactions in our bodies and the effects of different foods. And even though this talk was geared towards sports nutrition, he touched on dehydrated milk. And it's highly oxidized, which means it creates free radicals in our body. And free radicals have been tied to the buildup of atherosclerotic plaque. And what that is cholesterol, or what cholesterol deposits in our arteries. And for those of you known somebody who have a heart attack or bypass surgery, what's happened is so much plaque has built up that there's no longer an opening in the artery and blood can't flow through. So this hasn't been linked, giving baby formula, which has a base of dehydrated milk, isn't linked to the buildup of atherosclerotic plaque. And my uneducated theory, because I'm not a doctor, is you can't link that, because babies' arteries are about as clean as they come. And these free radicals actually just kind of barely nick the inside of our arteries and rough it up a little bit so it's a little bit more like sandpaper. And over years and years and years, the plaque, deposits more easily. So, don't get me wrong, I'm not here to bash formula. I'm not against it. I think plenty of people have grown up healthy on formula. I was fed formula, my husband was fed formula. But I just personally didn't want to. And I thought my son was developed enough to where he could handle coconut milk. And so against my pediatrician's recommendation, I started him out with a 5-ounce breast milk, 1-ounce coconut milk mixture. And I would give that to him at night. And it helped. Within 3 days, he was sleeping 8 hours again, waking up early in the morning to feed. I could tell he was still hungry, and he didn't like getting up even once a night. He likes to have a solid 12, 13 hours of sleep. He doesn't like to nap during the day, but he likes that solid 12 hours. And he's just a happier baby when he gets it. And so I bumped up his nighttime feeding to 8 ounces of fluid, 6 breast milk, and 2 ounces of coconut milk. And then every other day, he would get a daytime feeding of 5 ounces breast milk, 1 ounce coconut milk. You're gonna have to, see what your baby needs and play around with the ratios. Another thing that influenced my decision was researching baby first foods. The top 4 recommended are coconut milk, avocado, sweet potato, and banana. And I'm going to do another talk on introducing these solid foods. But I also found out that coconut milk is one of the few healthy saturated fats. It's really high in fat, and one of the main components of that fat is lauric acid, which is found in breast milk in high quantity. And fat at this stage of development, my son is 5 months now, but fat at this stage of development, really the first year, is critical because 90% of the human brain, which is mostly fat, develops in the first year. So that's how I made my decision. And just a couple notes: if you decide to go this route, buy a coconut milk that doesn't have any additives. You don't have to. I haven't researched any of the additives because I found a brand that doesn't have any additives. Or you can make your own. You just get a coconut, you drain out the water, and you scoop out the meat and blend it all up together. But I found that to be time consuming, and also the bits of coconut meat didn't pass through the nipple very well. And maybe I just don't have a good enough blender, but I don't really like trying to bust open coconuts in my kitchen. It gets really messy, loud, and what mother has a lot of time. So I did find a brand of coconut milk. It's by Nature Value, and the ingredients are organic coconut extract, 35%, and water. And it's almost nearly solid on top, and the water tends to sit on the bottom. So when you open this, make sure you stir it really carefully. Oh, and I should mention that this is distributed out of Sacramento, California. All this information is on my blog with links to various websites for these different products, and also links to the research that I did. So, final recommendation if you decide to go this route is, if you're bottle feeding with breast milk and using a small nipple opening, you might want to increase that size. So I went from a size 1 to a size 2. And also make sure the coconut milk mixture is warm. My pediatrician told me that my son could have cold breast milk, and although he doesn't like it, it never seemed to upset his stomach. But when I mix the coconut milk in, he just can't pass it through the nipple. It gets stuck and he gets really angry and frustrated. So do yourself a favor, warm it up, and the pulp kind of melts and mixes up really nicely into a unified liquid, and let them enjoy. And the results for me were great. You know, my son, he seemed very healthy, no digestive issues. He didn't reject it whatsoever. He, eventually went back to sleeping his 12, 13-hour stents. And it wasn't about the sleep, and so I could sleep, although that's been nice, but that was just the routine that he wanted. And as a mother, it breaks your heart when you're trying to feed your child and there's just not enough. And so this was more about him being satiated and getting the nutrition that he needed, and allowing him to get back on the sleep cycle that he wanted. And I noticed a huge difference. He was just much happier during the day, went back to his normal self. So I had really great results. If you're in the same situation, I don't want to pretend I can make any medical recommendations. Like I said, my pediatrician was against it. One thing, if you do want to talk to your pediatrician about it, I would bring a can of the coconut milk in, or even an open can, because I think my pediatrician was under the impression that I wanted to add coconut water. And they're very apprehensive to add any kind of water to a baby's diet, because the kidneys aren't fully developed enough to regulate the high water influx, and it could flush out their systems and get them, I'm guessing, into a hypotonic state, which means their cells are filling up with water, and then because they're not retaining their shape, they can't do their function. That's just my thought. Discuss it with your pediatrician. But I just wanted to share with you what worked for me for the 4-month regression. I hope you visit my website, FeedThisKid.com, and I hope you join me in trying to start out our children with natural foods. Personally, I think our bodies have evolved with these foods and know how to handle them better than anything created in a lab. And it's my personal opinion. I'm not a doctor, but it's my opinion that I believe doctors recommend and prescribe things that they have access to research on. And food companies aren't going to publish research on natural food. They're going to publish they're going to fund research and publish the results on food that they're producing and manufacturing. So I think there's a lack of information of how babies do on these natural foods compared to what's available for formulas and rice cereals and things of that nature. So again, good luck getting through the 4-month regression, and I hope coconut benefits you like it benefited us. Thanks.